It's always great to have the Hall of Fame. Let's see what we have going on here. At this time, I'm going to introduce our head table here. My far right, your left. We have Jeff Shreve, Hall of Fame Relations from Hall of Fame here. Welcome, Jeff. Next in, we have our speaker here for the few minutes here, Joe Klecko. Defensive tackle. At this time, I'd like to recognize our club sponsors. All Cares Primetime Health Plan, Dr. Peter Ferguson, Liberty Ford, Marion Motley Memorial Scholarship Fund, the Bistro of Green, Sports Ohio, and Wilkshire Golf Course. Give them a hand. A few announcements here. First of all, it's meant to announce again about our tour of the Wilson Factory on April 7th. Any questions after seeing it? Mazaka, Nick's back here. Any questions about that? Sign up for that tour. It's a great experience with him. See that tour on April 7th. So see him after the meeting. We do have, I mentioned before, we do have the Hall of Famers coming this year for 2026. We have quarterback Drew Brees, running back Roger Craig, wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, linebacker Luke Kuechly, and kicker Adam Vinatieri. Give them a hand. Good to see them this summer here in Canton, Ohio. I know Jeff will have more information about it here in a second, but Jeff will talk about the Stark County Proud exhibit going on right now. And tomorrow, a big day. We have honoring the Glen Oak High School Day, where Dan Dewar and some other great student played for the went on the NFL from Glen Oak itself. That's tomorrow. Then Jeff has some information about that as well. Again, if you come, you can come for free because you're Hall of Fame members, Luncheon Club members, but bring someone with you. If you're Stark County residents, half price. Bring a son, bring a grandchild, bring a spouse with you. Come out and see the exhibit, the Stark County Proud exhibit. How about that hockey team? Both men's and women won gold. Speaking of that, Olympics wrapped up last weekend. I think we ended up with 33 total medals, but 12 gold. Most ever in the Winter Olympics, 12 gold medals. That's great. The Cavs are doing well. They play a couple tough games here coming up. They play the Pistons, I think, tonight. Pistons tonight, I think it is, on ESPN. And they play them again next week. There's a few tough games here for the Cavs to see how well they're doing here this year. And, of course, spring training started, too. It's always to see spring training. Nice day today. It's getting warm out there. Hope we get some warm weather pretty soon. Again, we have microphones during question answer time. I think Dennis and Keith will have microphones. If you have a question, raise your hand, get their attention. Have a microphone so we can hear better, the speaker can hear better, all of you can hear better. The question being asked, a question answer time. That's a trivia question today. Trivia about Joe Klecko. So you can't answer this, Mr. Klecko, but trivia. Joe Klecko was drafted in the by the Jets in the 6th round in 1977. Draft. There was one other Hall of Famer that was drafted that same year. And when who was? In 77? One other Hall of Famer in 77 was drafted. Nope. Nope.
Tony Dorsett.
Tony Dorsett was drafted the 2nd overall pick by the Cowboys. The only other Hall of Famer that year in 77. Joe Klecko graduated from Temple University. How many other Hall of Famers played for Temple University?
Howie Long.
My notes say none.
Oh, no, it's Villanova.
No other Hall of Famer played for Temple. Only Joe Klecko did. Other than playing with the New York Jets and later being enshrined in the Hall of Fame, what do these other four Hall of Famers have in common? Joe Namath, Don Mayer, Curtis Martin, and Joe Klecko. What do they have in common? What's that? Well, they're gold jackets for the Hall of Fame. What do they have in common, Joe?
Play for the Jets.
Play for the Jets, but something else. They all had their numbers retired, their jerseys retired for the New York Jets. Yep. And what nickname did Joe Klecko have for the Jets because of their dominant play?
New York
Sack Exchange. There's some Jet fans here. And during his college career, he had 2 national championships, 1 other sport. Not wrestling. Heavyweight boxing. It says here was not instantly sanctioned sport, but was a club sport. He won the national championship for that. So some trivia about Joe Klecko. Our 50-50 drawing, Dennis has the money, $121. We're going to draw a ticket here. I'll step down here, get the ticket from Joe. Ticket number, $121. 933-656. 933-656. Roseanne. Roseanne? Was that mine? No, mine's yours. We witnessed it, so it's all up and up there. So. Monday, we're back at Cozy's on Monday. For next speaker on Monday will be Amber Phillips from the Cleveland Crunch professional soccer team. Amber Phillips. Come out Monday to hear that. At this time, I'm going to call up Mr. Jeff Shreve. And call.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. Jeff's right. They said I could do this, but I have to put in a commercial for the Stark County Proud exhibit, which you no doubt saw when you walked in. We're honoring in particular all 5 Hall of Famers who have Stark County ties. I had the good fortune of doing the masculine exhibit. Some of you may have been there, where we obviously honored Paul Brown. Tomorrow we'll be honoring Dan Deerdorf and Glen Oak / Glen Wood. And Dan will be joining us remotely, and I hope you can be here for that. And then on the 7th is McKinley Day, honoring Marion Motley. So be sure to put that on your calendar. Love to see you all here for that. End of commercial. So, Jeff touched on a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I'm going to say them anyway. You know, you're special if you're in the Hall of Fame, but you're even more special if the unit that you played on has a nickname, right? The Steel Curtain, people, the Purple People Eaters, the Orange Crush, and the New York Sack Exchange, which in my opinion is one of the best nicknames that I've ever heard. Your speaker today has the distinction of honoring the Sack Exchange, a rare combination of strength, quickness, and smarts, the person to terrorize opposing linemen. There are several linemen that I've talked to in the Hall of Fame that have said that's the toughest matchup that they've had. More than one Hall of Famer has told me that. 12-year career primarily with the Jets. Along the way, selected to the Pro Bowl at 3 different positions. In the 105-year history of the National Football League, that is a list of 1. It's quite a distinction. Most dominant season, 1981. Recorded 20 and a half sacks. We all know what the record is, right? At the time, what's the record? First team All-Pro and Defensive Player of the Year. His career, 4-time Pro Bowl selection, 2-time first team All-Pro, and a permanent Jet, as Jeff said, is number 73, and hangs in the rafters in New York as a retired number. He's here for his residency. So what do you do when you have a big burly defensive lineman? Well, we had him last night speak at the Opioid Symposium. This morning we went to Johnny's Bakery, met some fans, grabbed some donuts, took him out to the construction guys because he has a construction and trucking background and he wanted to make sure that they were doing it right. To the degree that he climbed into an excavator and filled a dump truck full of dirt. And I have a video to prove it. Right, Joe? Excavator? No. And a quick note, as of 5 minutes ago, he's a new grandfather. That's his 7th, but we've been waiting for the last couple of days, and we just got the news. Congratulations, Joe. Please welcome to the class of 2023, Pro Football Hall of Famer number 366, Joe Klecko.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Right, I appreciate the applause. There's not many times where I get to speak to a group where there may be a few guys here older than me, That's rarely my case, but Listen, one of the greatest things I constantly have when I come back is being associated with the Hall of Fame, of course. But every time I get to talk to anybody involved at the Hall of Fame or with the Hall of Fame, as you people are, it's a different breed out here. It really is. You know, and everybody I come to, everybody I talk with, and everybody I associate myself with out here are really good people. And I say that for one reason. Canton just seems to be a place of home. It really is. It's a great town. You know, it seems to be everybody. When we picked the donuts up this morning, the crowd that was in the donut shop, you know, to come to meet me and stuff like that. You know, this is a normal pop and pop store, and all the people were so excited to meet you. And it's exhilarating for a guy like me. You know, I'm from the New York Jets as far as a team, but I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania. Chester, Pennsylvania is not a real big town, you know, but it was a tough town to grow up in. You better be able to handle yourself where you live, where I live. You know, it was tough. And when I grew up, having a hometown like that in latter years, as I grew up, the town fell apart. You know, and unlike people like yourself here from Canton, you hold this place together. You really do. It's a special place. People who come from bigger cities and stuff like that, you know, the culture moves on, the people move on. You guys, you stay stationary in time almost, you know. It's like you're a great place to come and visit, and the way you treat your guests and treat, you know, the people here at the Hall of Fame, it really is an outstanding tribute to you. It is, and really, you guys deserve that. But you know, when I came along, like I said, I was born in Chester, Pennsylvania. I didn't have a chance to go to college because when I left high school, you know, it was funny because when I was my senior year in high school, I was getting ready. I only went out for football my senior year in high school. I was working up to then because I had to, because my family didn't have much money, so it was better that I worked. So my senior year, though, my dad allowed me to go play football. So my dad was pretty good football player in the old days, you know, and people used to say to me, my uncle owned the gas station that I worked at, and all the guys would come in, "They're going to be like your dad. You're going to be like your dad." I said, "I hope, baby," you know. So the day I'm leaving for my first game, I stopped to my dad. I said, "Dad, I have a chance to play today. You know, just play. You know, I wasn't nobody yet. You know." And so I got to the game. We played the game. We won, and I didn't play it down. I didn't play a single. It's funny. See, you laugh. You kind of know where I'm headed with it, right? I came home. My mom said, "Joey, your dad wants to see you up in his bedroom." We lived in a small row home, like, you know, a normal person from Chester would be. Said he wants to see me. I said, I go upstairs. My dad's crying. I'm like, what? This is very rare. He goes, and what he said to me, I won't repeat, but he goes, he was so distraught about me not playing that he didn't want to talk to me. So, boy. Anyway, long story short, we'll go to the end of the season. Okay? I made all Catholic, all state. The Eagles give away a special award to a high school player every year in that area. I won it. I played only 6 games in my high school career, and I was elected to all these games. Now my dad refers to it, "That's my JoJo," you know. I changed his mind, thank God. But you know, for me, it wasn't an easy road. When I got out of high school, I didn't have a chance to go to college. There was no scholarships, and you know, like I said, my family didn't have any money, so I wasn't going to pay to go to college. In 1977, you know, it wasn't such as today. You know, you have to get a college education. You have to get a college education. It's drilled into you. I wasn't going, and then I had a chance to play semi-pro football. And I went out to play semi-pro football, and this is the great story that I tell a good bit, but it's worth hearing, is I was driving a truck for a guy who was a construction guy who owned a semi-pro football team. So I was on the job one day, and I was working, and he said to me, Joe, why don't you come out? There's a lot of guys that come out for the team. A few guys that go to college, so two of them played for the Eagles. I said that you can, see if you can, give it a shot. So I go out and I pull up to the side of the field, and I get cold feet. I said, honey, I can't go out there. I can't do this. So I get out to put my spikes in the back behind my seat because I'm going to leave. My wife takes the keys out of my ignition and she threw them out the window. I said, why'd you do that? All right, but I have to go get them. And the guy who owned the team seen me. Joe, come on over, he said. So I turned and looked at my wife, with daggers. I'm like, dude. So I went over and basically I made the team, okay? And there was a guy, his name is John DeGregorio, a friend of mine, deceased now. He was the equipment manager for Temple University. And he used to help out with us with equipment. So one day he went to Wayne Harden was at that is today, he's deceased also. But he's in the College Hall of Fame. He coached the team in Navy when Joe Bellino was there and Roger Staubach and those guys. So he had two Heisman Trophy winners that he had coached, and he was our head coach. And so he carried some pretty good weight. So John DeGregorio said to him, there's a kid out there playing Sandlot football that's better than anybody on your football team. And of course, he said, you're full of it, And he came out to watch me play. He watched me play one quarter and gave me a full scholarship to go to Temple. So we're very unique. So anyway, I went to Temple and I did pretty well there and everything. And one of the things I picked up when I was picked up, I used to be a bouncer, of course, where'd that come from? And the town I lived in was a tough town. And a good friend of mine was a pro fighter. He had, not a guy that's going to, but you don't pick on a pro fighter on the street. You're going to get your ass kicked. I don't care who you think you are. But anyway, him and I worked together. He said, Joe, why don't you start, fighting with me? I said, fine, great. So I started fighting. I used to fight Police Athletic League and pals and amateur fights. And one day, there's a guy who was an agent. And he came along to talk to me, and he had two fighters. One was Michael Spinks, and Leon Spinks was a heavyweight, and Michael Spinks was his brother. And this guy, Sam Solomon, trained him. Sam Solomon was a renowned trainer, okay? And they worked at a Clover Lane, which is Joe Frazier's gym. And so I was right down the street at Temple, and he said to me, Joe, listen, since you're fighting, I already had like 11 fights at that time. He said, why don't you go up there and let him train you? I said, well, great, a guy like that to train you, I got to get better, And so I went up there and I walked in. Now, Clover Lake Gym is you walk in the front door, the ring is right here. And then if you go in, there's areas to train and locker rooms and stuff like that. So he said, Samson, I walked into the gym and, I probably was the only white guy in the gym, And then I walked in and Sam said to me, he says, Joe, Joe wants you to get in the ring with him. I said, Joe, who, me? He said, no, really, he wants you to get in the ring. I said, we nuts? It's a heavyweight champ. He was the heavyweight champ at the time. And he said, no, they want you to work with him because you're big. Work with him. All right, so let's explain this. I said, there's great big punching bags there he could use anytime. He doesn't need me, So he said, no, he wants you to work with him. He wants you to lay on him, push him around and stuff. Push him around. Okay. So he's trying to get the gist of it. He's trying to talk me into getting in there. So I said, okay. So I get dressed and I'm getting ready. Now I get stupid, which is good. That's part of my vocabulary, stupid. It really is. So I get in the back and I'm warming up and I'm getting ready. And I say to myself, what if I knock him down? Hey, you're laughing too. And I said, this is Joe Frazier. You knocked Joe Frazier down. People are going to know this, okay? So I go in the ring, and I'm going to fight 3 rounds. Joe fought 21 rounds that day, and I was the last 3 rounds of 7 guys who were going to fight. So Joe fought the other guys, and now I'm left, and he's in there still hopping around, and he's all fired up still, So I get in and we start banging, just. And he's not there to hurt me or nothing like that, but he's hitting me, and he's hitting you. It's not like I'm sitting in there with no punk, And so finally, I get the cockiness in me, So how I used to do it a lot of times, I'd set up guys, I'd feint, I'd hold my glove up, and I'd follow it right with the right hand. To most guys that don't know what they're doing, that's going to hurt. I knocked 3 or 4 guys out like that. So I'm going to do this to Joe Frazier. Yeah. He's never seen that before, So I get up and as he did, he dropped and she stopped one of the left hooks right next to my head. And I seen it at the last moment. I went, oh shit. And he started laughing at, I don't know if you remember Joe. Joe always had this laugh. Like, I could have killed you, kid, I took off my gloves. I walked out of the ring and I said, that's enough for me. So that was one of my rare experiences that I had to fight. But I had a good career. I only lost 1 fight, and they how about that one? They awarded it a draw. The referee, the judges awarded it a draw, and they awarded him the fight. I fought him in his hometown. The guy was bloody and everything like that. And I'm like, they awarded you the fight? No kidding. Oh, I got a date. I'll see you later. I could care less about it than my dad. My dad's in the audience. So I lost, right? Hey, what the hell's the matter with you? You're mad at me? Do you really think I lost that fight? I said, he goes, hey, you're nigga. And he said to me another one of them words I can't say here, and he left and he's mad at me. So I went out with the guys the rest of the night and I drank it off. I was that kind of kid in them days. But that was the only fight I had actually lost. But then it led into my career into pro football. And, the boxing career really actually helps because nowadays they talk about, the martial arts and hand fighting and stuff like that. Well, when you learn to fight, you learn to use your hands pretty well, If you don't, you're going to be laying down a lot, So if you don't learn to use your hands quick enough, you're not going to be good at it. So, but I was good at it. And I when I got to the big leagues, there's nothing you think you could use for fighting, but it's really good to have quick hands when you play football. So anyway, we're going into the last cut that week. And I'm not happy because they drafted a kid in the 3rd round along with me the same year. And I was in the 6th round. And the veterans liked me because I was the guy that sang and did all the things they wanted to do, So when time came, they're telling, hey, Joe, listen, the numbers don't work. He's a 3rd rounder. They got money invested in him. You're a 6th rounder. It just don't work out, big guy. So I'm pissed. I'm madder than a hornet, So that practice, they came out and they said, all right, we're getting ready to play somebody. This is the first game. And the last cut came that Friday. So I'm standing, we're playing scout team, for the first team offense comes out. We're going, all right, guys, we're going to go half speed. Not me. Listen, they lined up, got down, and I busted the guard in the face, knocked him down, and I strained the fullback's neck. They all got up and they're jumping in my face, and they all want to kill my guys. You can come get all you want. I said, I'm going to be here all day. You can come get me because you know what? You got a job and I don't. And I said, you want it? Come get it. And that's basically was one of the things that I found out later from the coaches that helped them make their decision. The kid in the 3rd round, they put him on IR. That's how they had a big move. And that's basically how I made the team. So them days with Joe Frazier paid off a little bit anyway. But playing for the Jets, of course, was a good time. nowadays, I feel like I'm sure that I can relate to a lot of people in here from Cleveland Browns, you know? So, you know, we have the same problems going on. You don't know what's going to happen. You have that excitement. It's in the preseason and you're all excited. Like last year, we got Aaron Glenn, who comes from Detroit, where had their great coaching staff and they did well in Detroit. It's going to carry over and so forth. And, you know, and nothing worked out. That whole Aaron Rodgers deal, you know, everything with him. I mean, how can a guy hijack a whole team where they hired his offensive coordinator, 3 of his receivers, and he almost had his offensive coordinator. Oh, he did have his offensive coordinator get hired, and basically turned around. First play of the game, he broke his Achilles tendon. Now that had nothing to do with him. I understand that, but you know, how can you be snake bitten worse than the New York Jets were that year? And of course, it hasn't gotten better since then. But we're keeping our fingers crossed, like you guys are, I'm sure. You know, but I see there's a few Jet fans here, so I'm very happy about that. I mean, you guys should have been in the front row up here. I don't know. You know, you guys at Jet, you guys were sitting in oddball places. You would have been up front in my phone. Just want you to know. You guys need help, call me. I'm sure there ain't no Joe Frazier walking around in here. But really, I appreciate you having me. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions for me, there's microphones that are running around in the audience here.
I'm a Pennsylvania guy too, by
There you
the way. But take us back to the day when Broadway Joe come knocking at your door to let you know you got in the hall.
Now that's a pretty long story. You know, I don't know if anybody's seen it. The knock when Joe came to my house. They told me the story after. Like they called my wife and they told her, said, "Listen, we're going to be at the house between noon and 2 o'clock or something like that." They said Joe has to stay home. Well, he works, you know, because you know I'll never retire. So you know, I got a company to run. I got things to do. And she goes, "Honey, I got to go to the doctor." So here comes 12 o'clock. What doctor are you going to? Let's go, you know. He goes, "No, we have to wait. They're going to call." And my daughter was on the phone with Jim Porter, I think it was. And he said to her, he goes, "Don't worry, my mom can make my dad do anything." Like most, yeah, you're all laughing. Like most women can, you know. So anyway, I'm sitting there. So I listen. If you're not going to, you know, go to the doctor, order lunch. I'm hungry. So I think they're ordering lunch. So a knock was on the front door. They're not opening, going to the door. I'm like, I got to get up to get the door. Oh, geez. I'm on the phone doing stuff, you know. So I come to the front door. Knock. I open the door. Here's Joe Namath. Oh my God, exhilarating, surprise, and everything you could possibly imagine going through your body at the same time, you know. Because when I opened the door, I don't know if you've seen it, I turned around to my wife. I said, "Honey, Joe Namath came to lunch." So anyway, I didn't expect what happened. Listen, Joe's there. There's 6 cameras behind him, and Jim Porter standing over here. I figured it out in a minute. You know, I really didn't. I was very surprised. It was absolutely cool. Yeah. Anyone else?
They think Jets are going to take Caleb Downs in the draft.
Well, I don't know. You know, a first round pick is such a tremendous, you know, void. I mean, not a void, but it's a decision to make. I don't know if he has what they need right now. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing. Can they trade for Kirk Cousins and put themselves in a position with a quarterback that can carry him through and maybe build a team around him, and then hopefully, I don't know what's out there coming in the future drafts also for quarterbacks. You know, everybody needs quarterbacks. Everybody wants a quarterback. You know, but I don't. You know, it's a rock and a hard place. And my answer to you is I really don't see it. I don't see them. You know, picking.
He is from Ohio State.
Well, that's a big part here. I understand, but I don't know. You know, it's, you know, how they make their decisions sometimes. It puzzles me. It really does. Anybody else? Throw the mic. You'll never get it.
I just wanted to tell you, I've seen a lot of guys, met a lot of football players, but for me, you being here is, like Earl Campbell to me was my favorite day of talking to people. But the way you told us the story about the boxing and stuff, I wish everybody had that because we were talking about boxing before you started talking. It's so cool. I had an uncle who was a Golden Glove boxer, and I tell you what, you made our day. You made my day, buddy. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. It really is. I'll show you how I make my left hook. Yes.
Joe, who was the best offensive lineman that you had to go up against?
That's a tough one because, as you know, Jeff mentioned, I'm the only one that ever made all pro in 3 different positions. And, I started at end tackle and then nose tackle. And to say that, one of the tackles I played against was the best, yes, at the tackle position, and could they have done what the guards did that I played against and the centers? But how I answer that basically is the best tackle that I ever played against, without a doubt, in my day, is Anthony Munoz. Anthony was the best tackle I ever played against. The best guard I ever played against is John Hammond. John Hammond, it's real easy to name these names because they were the best and acclaimed as the best. And the center is a touch one. There was Mike Webster and then Dwight Stevenson. Dwight Stevenson was the kind of guy who was really good with his hands and quick, where Mike was the kind of guy was a strong man. Mike was the kind of guy who would try to muscle you out of it. So I had the ability to fight both of them with my skills. So those 3 guys in my book are the best that I ever played against. Anybody else? Hold on.
How about the coaches you had? Can you tell us a little bit about the coaches?
Yeah, the best coach I ever had, of course, and that's because he's a Polak, is Walt Michaels. Walt Michaels was my first head coach, and Walt played with the Eagles. And Walt was the kind of guy who reminded my dad. My dad, which I told you the story, is my dad, either you're up here or you were down here. It didn't make a difference, And he would let you know it. Walt was like that, If you did good, he let you know it. No, he didn't let you know it. But if you did bad, he surely let you know it. And I remember we were playing the Eagles very first year, and I started my 3rd game into my rookie year. He figured he couldn't keep me out, so I started again my 3rd year. My last game of the year, I'm in Philadelphia. That's my hometown because I always thought I'd be drafted by the Eagles. Well, Walt came from the Eagles staff the year before. Not that this made a difference to the story, but Walt's walking down the hallway. I'm going to my room, and I don't know where he was going. So he's walking down the hallway, and it's a straight line. So he's walking over here, and I'm kind of walking out of his way. It's a head coach. He's walking towards me, like, what the hell's he doing? He knocked me in the flower cans. He walks up to me and banged me into the flowers. And I'm like, and I get up, he's walking. He just kept walking. I love that. And that's not only the reason. I thought Walt did a great job with us. And I think he got a wrong deal by getting fired the way he did it. But as far as head coaches, I really had a tough time. After they fired Walt, they hired the offensive coordinator, Joe Walt. And I don't think Joe, he was way in over his head. Matter of fact, he was the only other head coach I had besides. I went to Indianapolis for 1 year, and I'll explain that in a minute. But when Joe Walton was the head coach, he was having a meeting, and I had a party. I had a club called Klekkos, and I invited everybody to the weekend before, let's go out and just hammer it, and we're going to just start playing for ourselves and get this off our back. So he brings it up in a meeting that I had a party, and he points to these 3 guys, who were mama boys, you know what I mean? The guys that aren't men, you know, I always hated that. So anyway, I'm saying to these three, he says to these three guys, well, did you get invited? And did you get invited? No, coach, no, coach. Did you get invited? I stood up in the middle of it. I said to him, shut up. I said to him, I said, do you feel like you're breeding confidence into this team by doing this? And basically, I could cut my own throat. You know, I knew that, you know. But I called him on the carpet. And he just, you know, I sat down after that. And, you know, I went out to the practice field. Marty Lyons, who to this day is one of my best friends, he was a member of the SAC Exchange. And he wouldn't come near me on the field. I said, what's with you? He goes, hey, Klecko, the ship's going down and I ain't going with it. So I said, I got it. So, but as far as head coaches, Bob Michaels to me, you know, minding my pop. That's why I love him. Anybody else?
In addition to boxing, I know you're also involved in arm wrestling. You won a championship.
Oh yeah.
How about strongman contests? Can you
Well,
talk something about it?
I competed in 2 strongman contests, and the best I ever did in the strongman was I got 3rd. Okay, and I won 2 events in it. You know, the overhead presses and the curl press, but you know I didn't win the overall. And then, but the arm wrestling, I won it one year, and then the other year I competed, I came in 2nd. You know, so I did all of me. Oh, I did all the Neanderthal things. So one thing, I'm the Cleveland Outdoors Show. Does anybody ever know that? Okay. So anyway, I'm at the Cleveland Outdoors Show, and I'm signing autographs for U.S. Tobacco, Skull. Okay, and they had a bear there, and the bear was a wrestling bear, Victor the wrestling bear. All right. So the night before, after we went out to dinner with the guys, and I'm talking to the guy that owns the bear. I go, oh no, he comes in the house, he opens the door, turns the spigot on, drinks water out of the spigot. I said, no kidding. He goes, yeah, you wouldn't hurt a fly. He's a 600-pound bear, right? So he says, no. I goes, Joe, why don't you try wrestling him tomorrow? No, I says, I'm busy. I'm signing autographs. No. He says, he won't bother. And if he does, don't worry about it. You know, we'll get him off you real quick or whatever. Probably couldn't get him off with a pickup truck, but you're going to take him off. Okay. So anyway, I agree. Of course, I'm a Neanderthal. You know, it fits my MO. So anyway, these wrestling 2 guys in front of me, those guys 6'4", maybe 6'5", you know, 250, 60, 70, big guys. They get thumped. This bear thumps these guys. And I'm like, oh. Is it too late to back out? You know, I don't know. So anyway, it's my turn. I get up, and I figured out how to do it, you know. So I turned the bear, and I flipped the bear over on a stage like this, a little higher. And when I flipped the bear, I flipped him so hard, I flew off the stage, okay? But I get up and I'm laughing, you know, so they were worried about, no. So the bear got back up and he's sitting on his hind legs, like looking at me, like, I'm like petting him, like, and I'm talking to the guy on stage. Is he okay? You know? Is he okay? No, he's all right. So he gets up and snaps the bear to come wrestle me. Now the bear gets up on his hind legs. He's up here, you know, he's no little bear. So he gets up and I start banging him. He said to me before the wrestling, he goes, don't show him all your strength. Okay. I'll just sit over here, you know, like, so he said, don't show him. I hit this bear with everything I had, you know, and I'm banging him and he's going back. He finally gets down on his all fours, which I went on the side of him and I picked his back leg and his front leg and I flipped him in the air. You know, I flipped the bear over and I jumped on his neck like I'm going to bit him. You know? And I did. I jumped on his neck. The film, I don't know where the film's at. I have it personally, but I don't know. And I jumped on the bear to pin him. Like, it's going to make a difference. You can see me pinning this bear. And when I tell you I grabbed his head. That bear was huge. And anyway, that was another claim to fame I had. All right, guys, I appreciate, thank you very much.